The cry in the dark, the colony night was always cold, always silent, and always full of fear. The streets were empty, with broken lamps and ruined buildings standing like ghosts. In that silence, one sound cut through, a voice, high and desperate. Please. Somebody help. It was the voice of a child. Small footsteps echoed on the cracked ground. A young alien girl, not older than 10, ran barefoot through the street. Her eyes were wide with tears. Her clothes were torn. She carried nothing except hope. Behind her, on the ground, lay her sister. The older girl shook uncontrollably, her body trembling like she was trapped in a storm that no one else could see. Her lips were pale, her breath uneven, and her skin burned hot then cold again. The younger sister had tried everything, covering her with cloth, shaking her gently, crying in her ear. Nothing worked. Now she cried into the night. Please save my sister, she won't stop shaking, somebody, anybody. But the people of the colony stayed hidden. Curtains moved slightly in dark windows. Doors stayed locked. No one came out. Everyone feared sickness. Everyone feared danger. The little alien girl fell to her knees beside her sister. She pressed her small hands on the older girl's chest and whispered, Don't leave me, please. I'll find someone. I'll find help. Her voice cracked, but she lifted her head again and shouted, and that was when someone heard. From the far end of the street, a figure moved. A tall shadow stepped out of the mist, heavy boots striking the ground. A human. He had broad shoulders, a strong build, and a tired face that carried too many scars of war. His jacket was worn, his eyes sharp but kind. He had come to this colony looking for work, not for trouble. Yet trouble always seemed to find him. The child froze when she saw him. Most aliens avoided humans. Humans were strangers, outsiders, sometimes even enemies. But her heart was too full of fear to care. She ran toward him, pulling his arm. Please, please, my sister, she's dying. She won't stop shaking. The man stopped walking. His eyes followed her to the trembling girl on the ground. For a moment he said nothing. He only looked. He had seen bodies before. Too many. In too many wars. He had heard cries like this, on battlefields where children were left alone. And every time, it hurt. Every time, it reminded him of the people he couldn't save. He took a deep breath. He could walk away. That would be safer. If the girl carried a disease, if the shaking was some alien sickness, then touching her could mean death for him too. No one would blame him for ignoring it. But the child's eyes, full of tears, full of begging, pulled him down. The human crouched beside the sick girl. His voice was rough but gentle. Tell me what happened. The younger sister sobbed. She fell this morning. Then she started shaking. Worse and worse. I called the guards, but they said she was cursed. They told me to leave her to die. The man's jaw tightened. He had heard that word before. Cursed. It was the word weak people used when they did not understand. It was the excuse cowards gave when they did not want to help. He reached out his hand slowly, carefully, as if asking permission. The younger sister nodded quickly, desperate for anything. The man pressed 2 fingers to the sick girl's neck, feeling for a pulse. It was fast, too fast. Her breathing was shallow. Sweat rolled down her forehead. She's burning up, he muttered, but still fighting. The little alien girl grabbed his arm. You can save her, right? Please say you can. The man looked into her eyes. He didn't want to lie. He didn't know if he could save her, but he also couldn't tell her there was no hope. I'll try, he said simply. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around the sick girl. The warmth might help. He lifted her carefully into his arms. She was light, too light, as if she hadn't eaten properly for days. Her body shook against his chest like a trapped bird. The child ran beside him, her small hand holding onto his sleeve as if afraid he would vanish. The man's mind raced. Where could he take her? The colony clinic was run by guards who had already refused. No one in these streets would open their doors. That left only him, his own small room at the edge of town. It wasn't much, but it was safe. As he carried the girl, the night around them grew heavier. Windows shut tighter. Shadows moved in the corners of the street. Whispers followed him. A human carrying a cursed alien girl, that would bring trouble. Still, he walked forward step by step. The younger sister looked up at him and whispered, "Why are you helping us? Everyone else ran away." He didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed ahead, scanning for danger. Finally, his voice came low and steady. "Because I've seen too many die when no one cared enough to help." The child didn't understand everything, but she nodded. She pressed closer to him, her tears still falling but her heart feeling a small spark of hope. Behind them in the darkness, unseen eyes watched. The sound of boots echoed faintly, following their trail. Trouble was coming. But for now, in that moment, the human carried life in his arms. And for the first time that night, the alien child believed that maybe, just maybe, her sister had a chance. The human's choice. The streets were darker now, as if the whole colony held its breath. The human carried the sick alien girl close to his chest. Her body shook against him, heat and cold passing through in waves. Each tremor made him wonder if she would last another hour. Beside him, the younger sister ran, her small hand gripping his sleeve tightly. She did not let go even when her legs stumbled. Her eyes kept turning up to his face, searching for answers, for hope, for something more than silence. Finally, she asked in a trembling voice, "Will my sister die?" The human's steps slowed for just a moment. He looked down at the sick girl in his arms, her face pale, lips quivering, eyes half open but unfocused. Then he looked at the younger child, her desperate face glowing faintly in the weak light of a broken lamp. He could not lie, but he could not crush her hope either. His voice came low, steady, the voice of someone who had seen too much death and still carried the weight of it. "She is fighting. If she keeps fighting, I won't let her die." The child clutched his arm tighter, as if his words were ropes pulling her out of drowning waters. They walked on. The night was not silent anymore. From behind them came faint footsteps, the sound of boots on stone. The human's instincts sharpened. He had heard that rhythm before. Soldiers, guards, they were following. He turned a corner quickly, moving into a narrow alley. The walls were damp, the air heavy. He pressed his back against the stone and waited, listening. The footsteps passed by, echoing away. For now, they were safe. But he knew it would not last. The colony guards had already refused to help the alien girl. They had called her cursed, dangerous, unclean. If they saw him carrying her, they would not only take her, they might take him too. He looked down at the girl again. She was shaking, her breathing sharp and uneven. He adjusted his jacket, tighter around her, whispering softly, though he knew she could not hear. "Hold on, kid. Just hold on." The younger sister tugged at him, her small eyes wide with fear. "They're chasing us, aren't they? They'll take her away." The man crouched down for a moment, lowering himself to her level. His face was hard, but his tone gentle. "Listen to me. As long as she is in my arms, no one will take her. Do you understand?" The girl nodded, her lips trembling but her eyes burning with a spark of trust. He stood again, lifting her sister higher. He had made his choice. He would not hand her over. He would not turn away. But choices came with danger. The path ahead was not just about saving the girl. It was about standing against the fear and cruelty of this colony. And standing against fear always brought enemies. The man carried her through the back streets, avoiding the main roads. He passed doors where voices whispered inside, but no one came out. He passed windows where eyes peered through cracks and then quickly vanished. The colony was alive, but it was a life filled with silence and cowardice. The younger sister spoke again, her voice soft but filled with pain. Why didn't they help? Why did they all run away? The human's jaw clenched. He had no gentle answer for that. But finally he said, "Because they are afraid. Fear makes people cruel. Fear makes people blind." The child frowned. "But you are not afraid?" He paused. Fear burned inside him. Yes, he was afraid. Afraid of the sickness. Afraid of the guards. Afraid of failing again. But fear was not enough to stop him. "I'm afraid," he admitted. "But I will not let fear decide what I do." The child stared at him for a long time, and then her small hand tightened around his sleeve. In that simple grip, he felt her decision too. She trusted him completely. They reached his small room at the edge of the colony. A broken door, a dim light, a place that smelled of metal and dust. It was not much, but it was better than the street. He pushed the door open with his shoulder and carried the sick girl inside. He laid her gently on the bed. Her body twisted. With another tremor, and the younger sister rushed to her side, holding her hand. The human knelt beside the bed, pulling out a small kit from his pack. Bandages, water, a few basic medicines. Nothing advanced, but it was all he had. He wiped the sweat from the girl's forehead, checked her breathing, tried to calm her shaking with warm cloth. The younger sister's eyes followed his every move. "Will this help her?" she whispered. The man did not answer right away. His hands were steady, but his heart was heavy. He had seen sickness before. Some could be healed with simple care. Others needed more than he could give. Still, he looked at the girl and said, "It will keep her alive until I can find what she really needs." The child's eyes brightened with fragile hope. But even as he worked, the sound returned. The echo of boots outside, drawing closer. The guards had not given up. The human froze, his hand still holding the cloth. He looked at the door, then at the sisters. He had chosen to help them. Now he would have to fight to keep that choice. The room was dim, lit only by a small lamp that flickered with weak light. The sick alien girl lay on the human's bed, her body still shaking in bursts, her lips whispering sounds that made no sense. Her younger sister knelt beside her, holding her hand tightly, whispering, "Stay with me. Don't go." The human worked quietly. He poured a little water between the girl's lips, then checked her pulse again. Too fast. Her fever was high, and her body seemed to be fighting something deep inside. He pressed a damp cloth to her forehead, trying to bring down the heat. The younger sister watched every movement. Her wide eyes followed his hands like he was the only light in the darkness. At last, she whispered, You are not like the others." The man looked at her. "The others? They all said she was cursed. They wouldn't touch her. They told me to leave her in the street." Her small voice broke, her words filling with pain. "But you carried her." The man's face hardened. He had seen fear before, on battlefields, in villages after war. Fear made people cruel. But to let a child's sister die alone, that was worse than cruelty. That was cowardice. "I carried her," he said softly, "because no one deserves to be left behind." The little alien's eyes filled with tears. She crawled closer and clutched his sleeve. "Then I will trust you. Please don't let her die." Her words hit him harder than a soldier's strike. Trust. That was something he did not deserve, not anymore. His past was filled with failures, with people he could not save. But this child's trust burned like a spark in his chest. It was both a weight and a fire. "I'll do everything I can," he said. Before more could be said, a sound came from outside. The low stomp of boots, the crack of voices. Guards. The younger sister's head shot up, her face pale with fear. "They found us." The man stood quickly, moving to the door. He pulled out a short metal bar from under his bed, an old weapon he kept for safety. His eyes narrowed as the noise grew louder. 3 sharp knocks rattled the door. "Open up." A voice barked, "We know you're in there." The man didn't move. He stood silently, his muscles tense. The guards outside spoke again. "You are harboring a cursed one. Hand her over, human, or face punishment." The little alien girl rushed to the man, clutching his arm. "Don't let them take her. They'll kill her." He looked down at her. Her eyes were filled with tears, her hands trembling as much as her sister's. For a moment he thought of the choice again: walk away and be safe, or fight and risk everything. But the decision had already been made the moment he lifted the sick girl into his arms. He leaned down and spoke quietly to the child. "Stay beside your sister. Do not open the door no matter what happens." She nodded quickly, though her lips trembled. The man turned back to the door. His grip on the metal bar tightened. The guards outside grew impatient. A heavy slam shook the door, then another. The wooden frame cracked under their force. The human braced himself. Finally, with a loud crash, the door burst open. 2 armored guards stepped inside, weapons ready. Their faces were hard, their eyes full of contempt. "There," one shouted, pointing at the bed. "The cursed one." They moved forward, but the man stepped into their path. His voice was calm, but cold. "She stays here." The guard sneered. "You dare to protect her? Do you want to be cursed too, human?" Didn't answer. Instead, he raised the metal bar. The room filled with tension. The sick girl moaned weakly, her sister crying beside her. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons. The human's stance was solid, unshaken. One guard laughed, bitterly. "You are alone, you can't stop us," the man's eyes burned. "Maybe, but if you want her, you'll have to go through me first." For a heartbeat, silence hung in the air. The younger sister's breath hitched, her tiny fingers digging into the blanket as she clung to her sister's hand. Then suddenly, the first guard lunged. The man swung the bar, striking hard against the guard's arm. A sharp cry filled the room as the weapon clattered to the ground. The second guard moved in fast, but the man blocked, pushing him back with raw strength. The fight was short but brutal. Metal clashed against metal. Boots thudded against the floor. The human fought with everything inside him, not for himself, but for the trembling girl on the bed and the child who had placed her fragile trust in him. At last, the guard stumbled back, glaring. One spat on the ground. "You'll regret this, human. You've chosen death." They retreated, leaving the broken door behind. Their voices echoed down the street, promising they would return with more. The room grew quiet again, except for the sound of the sick girl's weak breathing. The man dropped the metal bar, his chest heaving. He turned toward the sisters. The younger girl stared at him, her eyes wide, not with fear but with something else: hope. "You really didn't let them take her," she whispered. The man sank to one knee, sweat dripping from his brow. He gave a small, tired nod. "I told you, as long as she is with me, no one will take her." And for the first time, the child believed it fully. The door hung broken, splinters scattered on the floor. The human stood still, chest rising and falling, his hands tight around the metal bar. The guards were gone for now, but their promise echoed in his ears. "We'll return." The little alien girl knelt beside her sister, wiping sweat from her forehead. Her small voice trembled. "They will come back, with more. What will we do?" The man looked at her, his face shadowed with thought. "We cannot stay here. They will not stop until they have her." The child's eyes filled with fear. "But she can't move, she's too weak." He crouched beside the sick girl, checking her pulse again. Still fast, too fast. Her skin burned under his touch. She needed more than water and cloth. She needed real medicine, something the colony hid deep in their guarded halls. He made his decision. "Then we carry her, and we move fast." The child nodded quickly, trusting him without question. He lifted the sick girl into his arms again, feeling her weight against him. She moaned softly, her head falling against his chest. The younger sister clutched his sleeve, walking beside him as he stepped into the night. The streets were quieter now, but not empty. Shadows shifted, whispers followed. Faces appeared in broken windows, watching but never helping. The human felt the danger pressing closer with every step. The guards would not forgive his defiance. They would come not just for the girl, but for him too. They reached the edge of the market district. Once, it had been a place of trade and color. Now it was ruins. Stalls empty, signs broken. ash covering the ground. Only scavengers moved here, their eyes sharp, their hands quick. The little alien pressed closer to the man. "They're watching us," she whispered. He nodded. "Keep your head down, don't let go of me." Then the sound came again. Boots. Not one pair, but many. The rhythm was steady, like a drumbeat of approaching war. The man turned sharply. Into an alley, narrow and dark. He moved quickly, the girl's weight heavy in his arms but not slowing him. The younger sister stumbled, but he pulled her along. Behind them, voices shouted, "There! Don't let them escape!" The chase had begun. The alley twisted, filled with broken crates and sharp metal. The man moved fast, his breath hard but steady. He had been a soldier once. He knew how to run, how to hide, how to survive. But this time he was not running for himself. The girl in his arms shook violently, her breath short. He whispered to her even as he ran, "Hold on, kid, just hold on." The younger sister's small steps echoed beside him, her breath ragged. "They're too close," she cried. He glanced back. Shadows filled the alley, armored guards, their weapons glinting in the weak light. They were faster, stronger, and they were closing in. The man's mind raced. He needed a way out. He spotted a broken service tunnel ahead, half hidden under rubble. It was small, dark, and dangerous, but it was their only chance. "Here!" he shouted, pulling the younger sister toward it. He shoved aside the rubble with one shoulder, creating enough space. "Get inside." The child obeyed instantly, crawling through the narrow opening. The man followed, still holding the sick girl. Inside, the tunnel was damp, cold, and smelled of rust. But it gave them cover. They moved quickly through the darkness, the sound of boots echoing behind them. The guards had seen where they went. Their shouts grew louder. The younger sister looked back, her voice breaking. "They're coming. They'll catch us." The man stopped, setting the sick girl gently against the wall. He pulled the child close, his voice low but strong. "Listen, they will not catch you. Do you believe me?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Yes." "Good. Then stay beside her. Keep her awake if you can." He turned back to the tunnel entrance, gripping his metal bar. The shadows of the guards grew closer, their steps heavy. For a moment, the man's heart pounded. He was only one against many, but he felt the small trust of the child burning like fire in his chest. He could not run anymore. When the first guard pushed through the tunnel entrance, the human struck hard. The sound of metal against armor rang in the dark. The guard stumbled back, cursing. Another tried to push forward, but the man stood solid, blocking the narrow space with his body. The tunnel became a battlefield of shadows, every strike echoing, every grunt sharp. The younger sister held her sister's hand, whispering prayers through her tears. The human fought with everything left in him, each strike not just for survival, but for the fragile lives behind him. At last, the guards pulled back, their voices angry. "This is not over. You cannot hide forever." Their steps retreated, fading into the distance. The tunnel grew silent again. The man leaned against the wall, his breath heavy. Sweat dripped from his brow, his arms shaking from the fight. But he was still standing. He looked back at the sisters. The younger girl's face glowed in the dark with something new, not just fear but belief. "You kept them away," she whispered. He gave a tired nod. "For now." Then he lifted the sick girl again, his voice low but steady. "But we need more than hiding. We need a cure." And with that, they moved deeper into the tunnel, into the unknown shadows ahead. The escape. The tunnel smelled like wet stone and old metal. Water dripped from the ceiling in slow, steady beats. The human moved carefully, the sick girl in his arms and the younger sister holding onto his belt as they walked deeper into the dark. Each step echoed. Each sound felt louder than it should. The air was cold, and dust floated like fog around them. The younger sister whispered, "Are they still behind us?" The man didn't answer right away. His ears were sharp, listening for boots, voices, anything. But the tunnel remained quiet, for now. No footsteps, he finally said. But we can't slow down. Not yet. The sick girl stirred in his arms. Her head moved a little, lips parting. She whispered something too soft to understand. Her body burned with fever, her skin slick with sweat. The younger sister touched her hand. She's still here, she's still fighting. The man nodded. We have to get her somewhere safe, and fast. The tunnel forked ahead, 2 paths, one wide and curved, the other small and steep. The man paused, choosing quickly. He led them into the narrow one. It sloped downward, the ground rough under their feet. I know a place, he said. An old emergency shelter. Might still be working. If we're lucky. The girl asked, what if we're not lucky? He didn't answer. Suddenly, a sound echoed behind them. Boots. Not just one pair. Many. The guards had entered the tunnel. The younger sister's eyes widened. They found us! Run, the man said. Stay close, don't fall. He ran fast, even with the weight in his arms. The girl in his arms moaned again, shaking harder now. Her fever was getting worse. The younger sister followed, breathing hard, her small feet slipping on the rough stone. Shouts echoed behind them. Stop, you can't escape. The tunnel twisted again, turning right into a larger chamber. Pipes hung from the ceiling. A metal platform ran along one side. The man led them across, boots slamming against the steel. Suddenly, a sharp cracking. Sound filled the air. The ground behind them split. Dust exploded. A piece of the tunnel roof collapsed, blocking the path. The younger sister screamed. They're getting closer. The man turned sharply. He saw a small hatch in the corner, half buried under rubble. He kicked the debris aside and pulled the door open. Rust screamed as it moved. In here, he shouted. He crawled through first, still carrying the girl. The space inside was tight, barely enough to move. Pipes ran overhead, dripping cold water. The girl followed, squeezing through the gap and pulling the hatch shut behind them. Darkness swallowed them whole. They crawled through the narrow space, the sound of chasing guards muffled now. The air felt tighter, heavier. I can't see anything, the child whispered. Keep crawling, the man said. This tunnel leads to the old shelter. How do you know? Because I used it once, a long time ago, when I had to run too. The child said nothing. She simply kept going, trusting his words. After several minutes, the tight tunnel opened into a small room, old, dusty, but protected. It had once been used as a storm shelter. A single emergency lamp blinked weakly on the wall. The man laid the sick girl on an old bench. Her face was pale, her body still trembling. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. The younger sister knelt beside her, whispering softly, You're safe now. Please, get better, please. The man searched the corners. He found a sealed box. Inside were old supplies, bandages, water, and a sealed packet labeled fever reducer. He opened the packet and mixed the powder with water. Help her drink this, he said. The younger sister held the cup to her sister's lips. Slowly, the sick girl drank. Her body still trembled, but her breath began to ease, just a little. The man sat back, exhausted. His muscles ached, his head throbbed, but he was still alert. He stared at the wall, thinking. They'll search the tunnels, he said. But they won't find this place right away. The younger sister looked at him. You knew where to go. You saved us. He didn't reply. He simply leaned back and closed his eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, just to rest, just to think. After a moment, the little girl spoke again. You said you ran once. What were you running from? The man opened his eyes. His voice was quiet. Mistakes, people I couldn't save, but now, maybe I can save someone. The child nodded. Her trust in him had grown deeper. But deep in the tunnels, voices still echoed. The danger wasn't over. The risk of healing. The old storm shelter was cold and quiet, hidden deep beneath the colony's forgotten tunnels. Dust floated in the stale air, and the soft flicker of the emergency lamp made the shadows dance on the walls. The sick alien girl lay on the bench, her body curled like a leaf caught in the wind. She wasn't shaking as hard now, but her breath was still shallow. Her skin had turned pale blue and her lips were dry. The fever was slowing, but not enough. The younger sister sat by her side, holding her hand. She hadn't moved in hours. She just sat there, whispering little stories into her sister's ear, hoping her words would somehow reach through the sickness. The human watched silently. He leaned against the metal wall, his hands dirty, his face tired. His eyes stayed locked on the sick girl, counting every breath she took. "She needs more than this," he said finally. The child looked at him. "What do you mean?" "That powder helped a little, but she needs real medicine. Fever stabilizer, antiviral, maybe even fluids." He stood slowly, his voice firm but heavy. "She needs a medical kit." "But where can we get that?" the child asked, fear rising in her voice. The man didn't answer right away. He walked to the metal door, the one that led back into the tunnels. He stared at it like it was a doorway to war. "There's a station not far from here," he said, at last. "An old outpost still guarded, but they keep supplies there." Her eyes widened. "You're going to steal it?" "I'm going to borrow it," he said, giving her a tired smile. "They'll call it stealing. I call it saving a life." The child stood quickly. "No, you can't go, they'll catch you." He knelt down in front of her. His voice became soft but serious. "I have to. Your sister won't make it through the night without something stronger. I won't be gone long." The girl grabbed his jacket. "What if you don't come back?" He looked into her eyes. "Then you stay hidden. Keep her warm. Keep her breathing. But I promise, I will come back." She didn't want to let go, but she nodded. He handed her a small flashlight and the rest of the water. "Only use the light when needed. Keep the door locked." The child nodded again, her eyes already filled with tears. The man turned and slipped into the tunnel, the shelter door closing behind him with a soft thud. Now the shelter felt even colder. Above ground, the colony was still covered in darkness, but now it held tension in the air, like a storm waiting to break. The man moved quickly through the ruins, his eyes scanning for patrols. He stayed low, ducking behind broken walls and ruined machines. He remembered every corner, every shortcut. This used to be a battlefield. He had walked it long before peace was signed. He reached the supply station, a small concrete building, with a glowing red scanner above the door. 2 guards stood outside, bored and half asleep. One of them leaned against the wall, the other smoked something from a pipe. Good, the man thought. Careless guards make mistakes. He waited for the right moment, then threw a small rock into the alley beside the station. The sound made the pipe-smoking guard jump. "What was that?" "Go check it," the other said. The man didn't wait. As one guard walked away, he slipped behind the other, covering his mouth and pulling him down silently. In seconds, the guard was unconscious. No killing, just quiet. Inside the station, he moved fast. Cabinets, lockers, drawers. His hands found bandages, sealed fever kits, and 2 small packs of IV fluid. He stuffed them into his coat, breathing fast. A sound behind him. Footsteps. The second guard had returned. "Who's in here?" The man didn't hesitate. He pushed a shelf over, sending metal crashing into the ground. The noise was loud. Too loud. Lights flashed. Alarms started to blink. He sprinted from the building as the guard shouted, "Stop! Thief!" Bullets rang out. He ducked behind rubble, heart pounding. Voices filled the air. More guards were coming. He didn't stop. He ran, back through alleys, back through smoke, back into the darkness where the tunnels waited. Below ground, the little alien girl sat beside her sister, wiping her forehead again and again. The fever had returned stronger. Her sister's breath was slowing. She cried softly, "Please don't. Leave me. Please." Then, footsteps outside the door. Her head shot up. She grabbed the flashlight and stood between the door and her sister. The door opened. It was him. He stepped inside, face scratched, clothes torn, but alive. In his arms was a small box. The child ran to him. "You came back." I said I would, he said gently. He opened the kit and began to work. The medicine was real. The tools were clean. And with careful hands, he gave the girl her first true chance. As the IV dripped and her breathing steadied, the man looked at the younger sister. She's not out of danger yet, he said, but she's finally got a fighting chance. The final stand and hope. The shelter was quiet now, the kind of quiet that made you hold your breath. The sick alien girl lay still, her chest rising and falling slowly. Her skin, once burning hot, now felt cooler. Her shaking had stopped. The medicine was working. The human sat nearby, leaning against the wall. His arms were scratched, his clothes torn, and a bruise bloomed under one eye. But he smiled, just a little, as he watched her sleep peacefully for the first time. Deri's younger sister hadn't stopped watching him. You saved her, she whispered. You really did. He shook his head. She saved herself. I just gave her the chance. The girl moved closer, her voice soft. But nobody else gave her a chance, not even the guards, not even the people in the street, only you. He didn't reply. He didn't know what to say. He had done what he had to do, not for glory, not for thanks, but because he couldn't walk away. Not this time. Suddenly, the emergency light flickered. The human looked up. He knew that sound, movement in the woe, tunnel. Then he heard it. Boots. Not one pair. Many. They were back. The younger sister gasped. They found us. The human stood quickly. He grabbed the metal bar again, the same one he had used to fight before. But now he was tired. His body ached. He knew he might not win this time. He turned to the child. Stay behind me, lock the door if I fall. Don't let them near your sister. The girl's eyes filled with tears. But I don't want you to fall. I know, he said softly. I don't want to either. The footsteps stopped just outside the shelter, then bang. A loud knock shook the door. You have broken the colony's laws, a voice shouted. You've protected a cursed life. Surrender now. The human didn't move. Another voice, deeper and crueler, added, If you don't open this door, we will break it down and take the child too. The younger sister gasped. She ran to her sister's side, wrapping her arms around her protectively. The human stared at the door. His mind raced. He had no soldiers, no backup, just himself, 2 alien girls, and a heart full of fire. He stepped forward and shouted, She's not cursed. She's alive, and I won't let you touch her. You're a traitor, came the reply. Then I guess I picked the right side, he snapped. Boom! The door shook. The guards were breaking in. The human turned to the girl. No matter what happens, you protect her. Understand? The little alien nodded. Her eyes were wide with fear, but also something else. Strength. The door burst open. 3 guards stormed in, guns raised, faces cold. The human stood in front of them like a wall. Step aside, the lead guard growled. No, the man said. You want her? You'll have to go through me. The first guard swung. The fight was fast, brutal. The human blocked the strike, slammed the metal bar into one guard's chest, then turned to knock another to the ground. But he couldn't stop all of them. A blast from a shock weapon hit his side. He groaned and dropped to one knee. The guard raised his weapon again, aiming now at the sisters. But before he could fire, a voice rose from the corner. No! It was the younger sister. She stood in front of her sister, arms wide. Stop, she's not cursed, she's getting better, look at her. The guards paused, surprised. And in that moment, the sick girl opened her eyes. She took a deep breath, slow and steady. The human, still kneeling, looked up. She's alive, she's healing. You see now? More footsteps arrived. But this time they weren't guards. Civilians, people from the colony, men and women. They had followed the noise, followed the truth. They saw the girl alive, saw the human, bruised but unbroken, saw the little sister standing bravely between danger and hope. One of the civilians shouted, "She's not cursed." Another added, "She's just sick, like anyone else." The guards hesitated. Their power cracked under the weight of truth. Then someone pulled out a communicator. "This has gone too far. Medical will confirm it." The guards lowered their weapons, angry, defeated. The lead guard spat at the ground. "You'll regret this, human." But the man stood tall even in pain. "I already regret a lot of things, not this. Later." The shelter was calm again. The medical team had taken the sick girl gently. Not to punish, but to treat. The human sat outside, a bandage on his shoulder. The younger sister sat beside him, eating a warm meal someone had brought them. She looked at him and asked, "What happens now?" He smiled, eyes soft. "Now? Now your sister has a real chance to live. And maybe this place will change too." She leaned her head on his arm. "You're not just a human," she said. "You're family now." He didn't answer. He just placed a hand gently on her back, looking up at the stars beyond the ruined ceiling. And for the first time in a long time, he felt hope.